that's part of how it defines itself, that it participates, or it's in the body. But I thought that soul was that which the body entered into, or I thought it was the other way around. So maybe you could explain. Is it both, depending on what model you're looking at?
Well,
when the body drops away from the soul is still there in its entirety. It doesn't change. It's totally permanent.
yes.
So when you talk about soul in that way, the body is falling away from it.
Yes.
But when you talk about the way you talked about it tonight, the soul is inhabiting the body, or is in the body. That's the part that seems contradictory.
Because it's a cosmology, right?
Well, I'm not sure whether there are two ways of dealing with this. One is to say that when we were talking about this idea, right? In man, that's man's intellect, right? And, well, let me change that. This generation is soul of the universe. Right? It's throughout the entire universe. And therefore, for Plato, the whole universe, much like a body, much like our own body, when we touch any part of it, there's a communication that goes throughout the whole of it. For Plato, therefore, the whole universe is a living entity, right, that knows itself wherever it experiences, whenever it experiences. So there's communication in the entire universe for the Plato's world. So you're asking, I think, a next question was, how do you go from soul in general to particular souls such as you and I?
Right, and you talk about it as soul in body, or is it the body that's sitting there with soul around it or through it?
Well, in the same way that wherever you touch yourself, there has to be, for that same analogy to fit, therefore wherever you touch, you immediately feel, therefore throughout the whole must be that sense of a soul. And therefore one of the Platonic yogas is the separation of the soul from the body, is by drawing it together from all parts of the body into a unity outside of the body. And therefore the body therefore can be shallow in that sense, and the soul takes a trip. Just.
You mentioned Plotinus.
Yes.
Unpack Plato. I was wondering, is it that Plotinus has such a rich,
And how?
you know, it's like, who's more packed, Plato or Plotinus?
Well, you see, what's nice about Plato, and I think it's absolutely unique in history, is that Socrates had a Plato, Plotinus had Porphyry, Jesus had Paul. See, and it's because of Porphyry, who was the court stenographer, as it were, for Plotinus, that it's a condensation of dialogues. So it is a very, very heavily condensed work. But I think I was using that idea with Proclus more than I was with Plotinus. See, Plotinus is easier to unpack because they are assertions that are being made again and again and again that take on a logical sequence. In Plato, you don't have that. You have threading. You have to pick up an idea here and here and there and bring them together into unities. To understand Plato is to exercise understanding. To know Plato is to become Platonic. That's why people love Aristotle. You don't have to do that. all you have to do is quote him, and wherever he is quotable, there's a sentence that came before it and after it that follows, and it's easy to lecture upon, it's easy to talk about. But for the Timaeus, there's so much threading. Like, I only took care of, a couple of pages of the Timaeus. But Proclus has those 2 volumes. So, but I do agree with you, Plotinus really does. He's similar to Proclus in that sense. But I think Plotinus is more interested in processes and the psychology of man. He's interested in the realm of experience. He wants to bring man in intellectually, yogically, and Proclus is interested in creating a great synthesis of all previous thinkers into a whole. So I don't know. Good question.
Since the soul is a composite, part of which is eternal, part of which is non-eternal, then the soul. Then I would take it that the soul of the universe is eternal
Yes.
and exists in time.
Yes.
And that.
Yes.
And so the part that exists in time is the part that we experience as maybe I want to say something more than the seasons, but the changing, the change or that we see have occurring before us is the impermanence of the soul.
That's right. That's right. That's what he's doing. See, what he's doing is really interesting, I find. That is, that he takes man's condition and he takes all the possible experiences man can have, and then he works backwards and says, well, given what we are, what does that presuppose? What does that presuppose? What does that presuppose? What system must I create in order to bring all of that into a unity? So he works. Or he gets a great insight and works forward. I imagine he does both.
Does he talk about the possibility of having a body without a soul? See, here you've
No,
got
for him, no. Anything that has a soul has to have vitality.
I'm saying the other way around. But is it possible to have a body without a soul?
Yes, but it would be dead.
Well, by body, I'm talking about, let's say, an electron. I'm not.
Oh!
I'm just saying that is it possible according to his.
Electron?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought an electron must have a soul. I'm just.
Well, he would say, if motion, right, if it's going somewhere, if it has a direction, right, then you have to assume its direction is either meaningful or not. To whatever degree it fits into a pattern, to that degree it's influenced by the pattern. Therefore, on some level, it has to have some kind of intellect function.
Could I say my therefore?
Please, please.
Therefore, on some level, it is self-reflexive. I mean, I always look at, since I look at it in terms of mathematics, here in terms of recursion and self-reflexivity.
Yes, it is recursion. Oh yes, it's golden section. Are you familiar with that God particle thesis?
Very little, but I'm sure I'm familiar.
Yeah, that's the point he's saying.
Yeah.
That's your point is what he's making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had trouble with this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He took over the visible region and he saw that it was in a state of discordant and disorderly motion, right?
No. He took over what was disordered.
And in motion, not at
That's
rest.
right. Disordered. Yes, it was disordered, not at rest.
Yeah, what does that mean? I don't
I don't
understand
know.
that. Like, I view the moving universe every single day, and it seems to possess
that's
a
true.
hell of a lot of order to me.
Yeah, I agree with
Cause
you.
and effect.
Yeah.
But you're looking
There's
at the
nothing out of
cosmos.
place.
Yeah, that's right. You're quite
So,
right.